Chapter 12, Otherworld's Moon 2. It's Hansu! Mihi shouted in glee as she saw Hansu walking slowly from the station below. Since they were dealing with the large group over there, they could only feel not at ease, but as Hansu came, all the pressure seemed to have been lifted. It's like some sort of superhero making an entrance. Mihi felt her heart thumping as Hansu approached, but there was somebody else whose heart was thumping. Fuck. I don't know if it will work out well. He had spilled the milk, but where was a problem? The situation where Hansu beats down everyone, including the 60 over there and the 7 of them. Then he would have basically poked the beast that was sleeping soundly. It could become a situation where he stole the sleeping lion's food bowl. Well, whatever. Since nobody knows that it was me who did it. Since he spilled it very softly while beating up a guy who had charged at him. Since I feel good because I found a convenience store, I will let it slide. Yeah. I could just fake it and pretend I don't know. Who would know that he did it? Tai soon calmed down and stared at Hansu, who was walking from afar. And Mihi ran towards Hansu first as he returned. You're back. But there's a problem. The guys over there took everything from the store. Hansu chuckled at those words and patted Mihi's head. I know. I saw as I came up. Did you gather the food for us? At those words Mihi looked back and mumbled. We did, but there isn't much. Since they prepared anticipating they would bring more from the store, they didn't have a lot of food or equipment. Since there was a limit to the size of the backpack. And even more so since they gathered up female supplies and weapons. But Hansu didn't add anything extra. Well, that could happen. And then Hansu looked around to everyone. And his eyes stopped at Tai soon. Tai soon replied as if nothing happened. But it's good, since you're here we can just take it back from them. It would be hard by yourself, but if we go together and force them, they would give it back. Hansu chuckled. Egu. This guy. But Hansu didn't really say much. Well, let's eat first. At Hansu's words, Mihi, Jisuan, Gangtai went up to the food they had collected. Since it was set up in a half-broken-down cafe, there were a lot of tables and it wasn't comfortable to eat. And soon the table was filled with canned foods and other edibles. As Hansu walked towards it slowly, Tai soon threw out something jokingly. I mean, we got these risking our lives, shouldn't you eat after paying us something? And then the cafe turned silent. Hey! Why are you being like this? Mihi glanced at Tai soon, then talked back. But Tai soon had no plans to back down. I can't keep getting dragged around here. And he didn't really say anything wrong. Hansu left the food he would eat at the store, but if they didn't bring it, then it would have been taken by the gang over there. In conclusion, this was theirs. And they had brought it with risk, but despite him being Hansu, shouldn't he pay something up for it? And as Hansu made an amused expression and stayed silent, the nearby friends were in quite a turmoil. Hey, if it wasn't for Hansu, we don't know where we could be right now. Tai soon replied to Mihi. But Hansu told us before also. Liking free things is dangerous. We need to keep it in check here in order to stay together. And at those words Sangjin nodded at the back. It seemed he had some pent-up dissatisfaction from the payments for the poison and the skills. I don't really have something to give for the food here. Tai soon spat out something instinctively at Hansu's words. Why not? You have that thing you earned in there, we could use it together. What thing? The 4 who didn't know the situation made a confused expression as Tai soon laughed and said. That guy. He went into an empty space alone. He probably got something from there. If we use that together, our survival rates will increase. Let's share it. We need to act together anyway. Don't do such a trade like this. At those words everyone looked at Hansu. They didn't say anything, but with the eyes asking why. Hansu looked at those eyes and chuckled. You've learnt well. What do you mean learn? You talk in an unpleasant way. Hansu clicked his tongue inwardly at that Tai soon. He did learn, but he learnt it in a flimsy way. Well, since he probably thinks we're equal because we're friends, then that should be normal. Basically, if one thinks that they're under, then they can't come out like that, but if they think that they're on equal grounds, then it's obvious that they would come out like that. But the problem isn't that. Hansu, who had organized his thoughts for a moment, landed a decision. I guess it ends here. Why would Hansu carry these guys around? He didn't really care for receiving runes. If he killed a few more, then they would come out, so why would he rather receive them? This wasn't a game, a time where he went haha. I've got items and runes. I am strong. This is fun. I can step on others. Happiness was long gone. Since he had fought too long to do that. The only reason why he was keeping them was because of what Ace had said. The reason why he asked for runes is because without doing that, then they will make more and more requests that go too far. I've done all I can. Hansu shrugged his shoulders and stood up. He wasn't a stingy person. He wasn't going to go, you pissed me off, so I will destroy you or something. How did Kangtai manage to say things like this? It's extremely embarrassing. Well, these guys aren't really enemies. If they separate, then that's the end of it. Well, it's okay. Stay well. Be strong from now on. Everyone was startled at Hansu's words as he got up. They knew that it would become instantaneously hard without Hansu. He only wanted to set the mood, not make him leave. And only then they started to make Taisun stop. Why are you being like this? Don't fight. The friends were talking around him, but Taisun landed a decision. Yeah, get lost. They were 7. If they act the way he taught them, then they could safely gather a lot of runes fast without moving around dangerously like him. No, even if he got weaker, he didn't like the fact that somebody was above him. And that attitude. It was an attitude that showed someone like himself was not even necessary. That really pissed him off. Motherfucker. As Taisun saw Mihi slowly walk towards Hansu, he got even angrier and then spat out. Go if you want to go. Principles and principles. If we really give this out for free, there will be no end. I don't know what you're thinking, but we don't need him. Then there was somebody who followed his footsteps. Hey! Jin Mihi. Are you really going? And leaving us behind? Mihi clenched her teeth at Taisun's words. I must live. The reason why the others didn't move because they didn't see Hansu fighting below. Mihi, who had seen that, knew instantly who was safer to go with. I'm going with Hansu. Can you take me? Then Hansu shook his head. I can't take you. Ah. But Hansu added at Mihi, who was in despair. But I can't really say anything about you following me. Phew. Taisun talked coldly at Mihi, who was sighing from relief. You can't go. You didn't pay back the rune. To Sangjin. Mihi can't leave. Since she has a precious skill. And if she has a debt, she can't leave like that. And, where will I send you? A girl that he had eyes upon since admission. A situation like this was a great chance. Ah. And then Mihi made a sad noise as she thought of borrowing runes from Sangjin. Then Sangjin shook his head. It's okay. I'm following too. What? At those words Taisun clenched his teeth. This guy who was always behind me. That guy's dad works at his dad's company. And that was the reason why he couldn't leave so far. He had used him well so far, but to suddenly come out like this. Yeah. Get lost. You have nothing to do with me now, hey? Taisun spat out while clenching his teeth. Yeah. Get lost then. The 4 who were looking at the bickering between Sangjin, Mihi, Hansu, and Taisun seemed to be in a turmoil, but then decided to stay next to Taisun and moved next to him. Since they didn't feel right about leaving and since all the food was here. Taisun looked at the 3 leaving, clenched his teeth but then shook his head instead. No, it turned out for the better. Now the leadership position has came back to him. They weren't at the level of Mihi, but the 3 girls here were pretty high quality and there was nobody stronger than him. 4 hunts he could just watch Hansu to somewhat figure out the weaknesses and then go hunt somewhere else. And all the food was here too. As long as there aren't any more problems, then there weren't going to be situations where their lives would be in danger. After I get strong enough, I can slowly make my way through. Tai soon breathed in and out, then laughed as he saw the friends who were looking at his back and not Hansu's. Sang-jin looked at Hansu with a dissatisfied expression and said, "We don't really have to do anything? All the food is with them." At Sung-jin's words there was some resentment. If it's Hansu, then he could probably take it all back. And he stuck with Hansu because he thought he would do that. But Hansu did not carry anything out. What are his thoughts exactly? Sang-jin did not understand Hansu. Since he didn't bring out any food, he had the strength to do whatever he felt, but why was he like that? Hansu chuckled at those words. Since he could tell what he was thinking. Well, if they don't know about the moon, the food they have is useless food already. Why would he bicker around regarding things that were already useless? It seems it's almost midnight. Hansu looked at the sky. At the sudden action, Sang-jin and Mihi also looked at the sky. In the middle of the dark sky there was a single round moon floating. An extremely normal full moon. And then something weird came into Mihi's sight. Did I see wrong? Mihi made a slit with her eyes and looked at the moon. It was like something flickered on the moon. Mihi, who had been looking at the moon, suddenly got the chills all over her body and almost felt bad. Blink. The moon blinked its eyes. The surface of the moon split open with a crack and then a frightening eye appeared. The iris on the center of the eye moved back and forth without stopping as it scanned every living organism around. Since everyone's left, let's just eat. Tai-soon said energetically as he walked towards the table. Jisuan looked at Tai-soon with a slightly anxious look. Shouldn't we at least make up? I think we need Hansu. At those words, flames rose up from within Tai-soon. That bitch has already gotten lost. Why are you looking for that bitch? But Tai-soon managed to laugh on the surface. His situation wasn't quite well set yet. If he makes a mistake, then they could all leave to Hansu. No. Look at that guy. He has something he had, but he's using it alone. He's a guy that would only make trouble if he stayed. Honestly, Jisuan didn't like that either. If there was something good, then it won't even be enough to use it together, but to leave just like that. And Tai-soon, who had seen Jisuan's expression, added strength to his voice. And all the food is here too. If they're hungry, they'll come back. Won't they listen better then? And then Tai-soon started to take out the food from the bag. And at that moment something happened. Hey! A strand of moonlight came into the room. As if the light bended. And as if it was searching for something, searching every corner. And at the snake-like light that entered the room, the food that had been shone upon started to burn. What is going on? Tai-soon rushed and checked the rest of the food. But the food that was stacked was all burnt down without anything remaining. Goddamn it! How did this happen? Tai-soon and the remaining 4 cried out in shock from the strange phenomena that melted down all the food in the interval of a few seconds.